Benefits of natural daylighting and air quality in healthcare facilities. Welcome to Building Knowledge 101. Discover the positive effects natural light and air quality have on wellness, recovery, and performance while discovering solutions that enhance daylight in interior spaces. Now, moving into daylighting and air quality, let's talk a little bit about that now. We know that natural light is a great way to offset power being used to provide artificial lighting in buildings. But the benefits of natural lighting go way beyond just energy savings. Take a moment to think about where you're seated right now, your work environment, or your kids' school, or the hospitals that treat your families. Now imagine these facilities without windows. Access to quality views and daylight improves the health and well-being of building occupants. There are a number of studies that show there are clear benefits across types of buildings that clearly validate that increasing daylighting and uninterrupted views to the exterior in a building improves employee engagements, reduces absenteeism, reduces employee turnover, increases values of the buildings. And in schools, great performance studies there showing that students' performance has increased in schools that utilize greater amounts of natural light. There's increased teacher retention, reduced turnover of teachers, and increased attendance. So even student scores, as mentioned here, have been improved in facilities that rely on greater uses of natural daylight. Focusing more narrowly on just healthcare, there's great research that documents the benefits of utilizing more natural light in healthcare facilities. Fascinating point here is that increased use of daylighting in views has improved the hospital's financial operations. Sunlight has a healing impact on the human body. Because of this, many hospitals are being built with open courtyards called healing gardens. And here I've got a list of other benefits that are derived from increased use of natural lighting and daylighting in hospitals. And all of these, when you look at increasing the recovery times of patients and reducing the length of time each patient stays in the hospital, that allows hospitals to meet the needs of more patients. Turning patients over rapidly is reducing the overall operating cost of the hospital. Here are a couple of great examples of research that support the idea of healing gardens and the impact of sunlight on patient recovery. Quicker recovery times, again, means more patient rooms turnover, increasing the volume of patients attended to in each hospital. So again, this just supports this growing trend of having healing gardens, which is an area in a courtyard, usually centrally located within the hospital, where patients and staff can take time out of their day to go and sit and relax and soak in daylight. What's fascinating is in 2017, the Nobel Award was given to 3 doctors who studied the impact of daylight upon our body's natural clock, which is your circadian rhythm. This is a natural rhythm in our body that regulates our sleep, our eating patterns, along with other physiological effects such as hormone release, blood pressure, and body temperature. So subjecting ourselves to daylight has clear benefits, and especially in here, the circadian rhythm. So if you want to research this further, just do a little quick research on benefits of daylight. You will come up with a great list of studies out there focusing on office environments, commercial buildings, educational buildings, and healthcare, and documenting the benefit that sunlight and views has on people in all of those different types of buildings. So recognizing the benefits of increased daylight and views, leading healthcare construction to incorporate larger glass elevations, we still have to balance this with interior occupant comfort. There are some negatives associated with expanding glazing on the exterior of buildings. Think about how much daylight is desired, how to handle interior glare and interior thermal comfort. Each project's approach to collecting daylight can vary. Look at Sacred Heart here on the left. You can see curtain wall, kind of making that a focal point, more monumental curtain wall used at the entry to focus everyone's attention on that. But then as you spread to the left and the right from there, now we go into punched openings, which are going to cut down and control the amount of light entering into the rooms. And then compare that to here, the Warren Medical Campus, where the curtain wall is used to open up greater amounts of the building, enveloped to daylight and views from the interior. And also notice here, this great canopy shading the curtain wall on the front and the raised walkway here for increased security. We'll talk about that in just a little bit here. But nice use of large curtain wall there to bring in more daylight, and then the canopy over the front to shade the elevation to cut down on solar heat gain and glare on the interior. There are a number of options for ways to incorporate daylight and views into the building envelope. So let's take a look at some of these. I've got a list of them here that are all opportunities to bring in more light. So we'll kind of walk through each of these one by one. So looking at entrances, for safety purposes, entrances should have high visibility through them. So you can see if someone's about to swing a door into you, or you might hit someone with an entry as you're pushing through it. Entrances are always a focal point. So expanding the glazed surface around them is typical. You can see some examples of large curtain walls here with the entry set in the center of it. So this makes the entry area more inviting, more open, more impressive. It connects the interior sitting area that you see here with the exterior environment, but it protects the interior environment from the exterior also. So most entries or glazed areas are protected from the weather by canopies or overhangs. And this also cuts down on glare on the interior and prevents buildup of solar heat gain. Windows can be fixed or operable so as to provide natural ventilation. Large punched openings and patient windows add more natural light to help the healing process. Blinds or curtains on the interior can control glare and darken the room when rest is required. Punched openings, such as these you see on the left, can be either stick-built or assembled in the rough opening, or as the example on the right, factory pre-built and pre-glazed commercial windows. Either of these options can include low E coating on the glass to cut down on solar heat gain. Operable windows are an efficient means of expanding natural ventilation. Window hardware options can be designed to limit the operation of the vent to just the custodial staff and custodial team with keyed latches. Other hardware will allow the occupants in the room to open the vents as a means of natural ventilation, manually opening so that they can control their immediate surrounding area. Hardware options such as this do not require grasping or twisting to open the window. By simply rotating this handle around 180 degrees, the vent is unlocked and projected out, and then reverse the sweep back 180 degrees will draw that back in and lock it in place. Natural ventilation is not limited to just punched openings. Larger storefront or curtain wall elevations can also incorporate operable windows. Here you can see a healthcare waiting room that illustrates a good strategy expanding the views and natural light and incorporating natural ventilation. You can see the operable vent set into the larger curtain wall elevation on the right side. Windows can be configured with mechanical operators that open and close the vents, such as an example here. The vents are tied to the HVAC system in this facility. So as the outside temperature starts to cool down a little bit, the HVAC system opens this row of vents that you can see right along here and another row up here. So that cool air comes in here and hot air is ejected out through the top up of this area. So those vents are tied into the HVAC controlled by the building and opening the building as it draws cool air in and evacuates warmer air at the top. Looking at curtain walls provide the largest amount of daylight and views compared to other glazing systems. Curtain walls become the building envelope and then become a major design feature of the facility. They will drive the overall look of the facility and allow for a range of design options. Note the curtain wall here has large, wide lights of glass in an effort to minimize the sight lines of the frames and emphasize the flush look of a smooth glazed surface. Now compare that to here, where the design team utilized the curtain wall frames to create patterns and varied the glass color and varied the location of horizontals and verticals to create kind of a random pattern. So in both these examples, curtain walls being utilized, but for two very different final design looks, but both very effective use and very efficient use of a curtain wall system. Now, curtain wall systems can be either stick-built, which is assembling at the job site piece by piece, by component, as you see in this picture, or they can be what we call unitized. With a unitized curtain wall, all the assembly and fabrication is done off-site. It's glazed and built in modules, and then the modules are raised and set in place one by one. So two different approaches: stick-built on the left side, all the components put together at the job site, or unitized on the right side, where pre-glazed modules, pre-built, are brought out and hung one by one on the elevation. Curtain wall options can also include captured verticals, like you see in this illustration here, where there's a pressure plate here and a cover on the outside, so the glass is being mechanically connected back or secured into the frames. Or they can be SSG, structural silicone glazing, where you don't have aluminum on the exterior, using silicone to chemically adhere the glass back to the frames. Another popular way to expand natural light is with overhead glazing and skylights. These allow daylight to flood into the core of the building or the locations where people are congregating during the day. Open courtyards and healing gardens aren't always practical in cooler areas. These are areas where overhead glazing can allow natural light into a garden area while still protecting the area from harsh exterior cold environments. Skylights like this one, set over an open core of a building, pours daylight down through the center of the facility, allowing daylight to flow out onto each floor. So you have a nice warm flow of daylight down through the core of the building here. On elevations that are exposed to direct sunlight, interior light shelves serve two purposes. First, they limit interior glare, and second, they bounce light deeper into the interior of the patient rooms or offices. You can see direct sunlight coming down through windows hits right on the floor, right near the perimeter of the building. Our goal in that picture I just showed you, we had the overhead glazing over the center core of the building, was to stream daylight into the center of the building. Our goal is to try to get daylight deeper back into the building. So sun shelves allow us to do that. Sun shelves take light and bounce it back to the interior of the building. Let me give you an example of that, what that looks like. So here we have an elevation, and you can see our direct daylight flooding down and hitting it. So we're concerned about solar heat gain. So we're going to do two things. We're going to put a sunshade on the exterior, and that's going to shade the glazed area down below, and then add a light shelf to the interior, and the light shelf will bounce light back up to the ceiling and then back down, carrying it deeper into the building. So quite often you see these two used together, sunshade on the outside, light shelf on the interior, to bounce daylight deeper back into the building. Here are nice examples of large glazed elevations that allow for expanded natural light and views. These are both bright, warm, inviting spaces that also provide a great connection between the conditioned interior environment and the unconditioned exterior environment. You can see in both these sitting areas, nice, inviting, comfortable areas where you have unrestricted views to the exterior. And that connection between the interior and the exterior is so important. We're realizing that one of the key signs of a healthy building is that anywhere within the building you have an uninterrupted view to the exterior, and people within the building have that feeling of connection with the exterior. Just wanted to show you this picture here. This is a great example of combining the interior and the exterior environments together. This nice sloped curtain wall, you can see a lady sitting there enjoying reading in that condition control environment, and looking right out to the exterior, she can see what's going on in the unconditioned, harsh environment on the outside. In this case, it doesn't look like a very bad environment on the outside, but there are cases where you could have storms, rain, snow, and you're protecting your interior environment still. With the glazed elevation here, it gives a sense of connection between the two. They're not shut away from each other. You know what's going on in the exterior. That is all we have time for in this video. If you'd like to watch more of our 101 video series, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Kawneer Company, Inc.